Youth Club are the original Burger Taliban. The term Burger Taliban was used by Ehtisham Hassan, who is a progressive guy. When he went to Aurat March, he held a sign saying, "Ban the Burger Taliban known as Youth Club," or something to that effect. I took the term Burger Taliban from that. Now, when it comes to Youth Club, I'm just going to be addressing some of their talking points around LGBT issues.
अल्लाह ताला ने मेल और फीमेल बनाया. अच्छा, एक कैटेगरी है जिसको इंटरसेक्स कहते हैं. इंटरसेक्स इज बेसिकली अ वेरी स्मॉल परसेंटेज ऑफ द पॉपुलेशन जहां पे हो सकता है आपके बोथ जेनिटेलिया के साथ कोई पैदा हो गया, ठीक है, और ये होती है 0.017% ऑफ द पॉपुलेशन.
No one is born with both genitalia. You cannot be born with fully male genitalia and fully female genitalia. You can be born with elements of both, but that's very rare even within intersex conditions. But also, where's the citation for this 0.001% figure? There's no citations these people ever have to give except right-wing Western crap like some random website belonging to a right-wing organization or something. Like, have you guys heard of credible sources, like scientific sources, for example?
अच्छा, इसमें भी हमारी शरीयत के अंदर ना इनको भी किसी ना किसी कैटेगरी में डाल दिया जाता है, क्योंकि जब एक बच्चा पैदा हुआ है और उसके अंदर कोई मिक्स जेनिटेलिया या कुछ हाफ फॉर्म्ड या जैसा की चीज हो जाती है, तो उसमें भी पता चल जाता है कि वो मेल या फीमेल है.
मेल फीमेल कैटेगरी में डाला जाता है, ये क्लियर कर दो.
वो हाउ डू दे यूरिनेट, मैं थोड़ा सा वो
बेस्ड ऑन डोमिनेंस.
How do they urinate? What are you even talking about? This guy keeps going on about mixed genitalia, half-formed. Like, do you even know anything about intersex? Now, it's true that intersex people are sometimes male intersex or female intersex, meaning you do have cases where someone has mostly male characteristics, but something is different. You also have cases where someone has mostly female characteristics, but something is different. But you also have those cases that simply cannot be classified one way or another. I mean, you have cases where people are born with literally no sex organs. They're born with no anatomy that's male or female. You also have, in the case of chromosomes, those individuals that don't have XX or XY. And you also have cases where someone has, say, XX chromosomes but is born phenotypically male, or XY chromosomes and is born mostly phenotypically female. But what is the relevance of this anyway? Why do you feel the need to say, no, it's either male or female, which isn't true scientifically speaking, because male and female are clusters. I've already explained this before, but I'm going to say it again. It includes all of those things. If anything is missing, even if the person is more on the male side or more on the female side as far as their biological characteristics at birth are concerned, that person still is intersex and they are still not 100% male or 100% female as far as biology is concerned. I know that it's weird to say biologically male or biologically female because male and female are also used as terms of gender. It is problematic, but I'm just going to stick with that terminology for now because of lack of a better alternative. So even in the instance where there is a dominance of male or female, that doesn't negate the fact that these individuals are intersex, but it has no relevance to trans rights or to gay rights.
Because पूरी शरीयत जो है वो मेल एंड फीमेल पे बेस्ड है. आपके विरासत के अहकामात देख लें, आपके पर्दे के अहकामात देख लें, आपके डीलिंग्स देख लें, वो सारी चीजें मेल एंड फीमेल के ऊपर बेस्ड है.
Not that I believe in Shariat, I'm a secularist, as I've already explained in part 1 of my Debunking Kaisa Raja series. But the reason why Sharia is mostly based on men and women is because that's the majority groups. Acknowledging the fact that intersex people exist does not take away from the fact that the vast majority of people are not intersex. Acknowledging the fact that trans people exist does not take away from the fact that the vast majority of people are cis, that is, not trans. And acknowledging the existence of non-binary identities does not take away from the fact that the vast majority of people are binary, that is, they're either men or women. So the fact that Sharia is mostly around men and women, whether it's parda, inheritance, or whatever, that is perfectly compatible with acknowledging that not every single person fits within these two categories.
ख्वाजा सरा कम्युनिटी जो ये मेल्स हैं, बायोलॉजिकल मेल्स हैं. जब ये पैदा हुए थे तो इसमें कंफ्यूजन नहीं थी कि ये बेटा हुआ या बेटी हुई, उनको बेटा हुआ है. लेकिन अब आप कहते हैं कि जी हमारी जो साइकोलॉजिकल या जो इंक्लिनेशंस हैं वो दूसरे जेंडर की तरफ है, ठीक है, यानी हमारे सेम सेक्स की तरफ है.
Well, that's just wrong. He's conflating homosexuality with transness. Now, it's true that most Khwaja people are not intersex. Again, you can be male intersex, but most of them aren't. They're just not intersex. And they're assigned male at birth, which means that they're categorized as boys at birth, and that's a social practice. The practice of categorizing babies into categories of girl or boy is a social practice, which is fine. It's an acceptable practice to engage in. I'm not against it. Some people are against it. I'm not against it. But that's not something that should be conflated with the actual biological characteristics. Intersex people are also assigned a gender at birth. In fact, this term, gender assigned at birth, as far as I know, does originally come from intersex cases. It then became generalized from intersex cases to non-intersex trans cases, or actually just anyone's cases, because even cis people have a gender assigned at birth. There are Khwaja people who are actually not attracted to other AMAB people, But again, gender and sexuality, two separate things. What defines someone as khawaja sera is that they have a female or non-binary feminine identity and are assigned male at birth, and that they have become initiated into the khawaja sera community of Pakistan. Khawaja sera is a South Asian specific thing. There are no khawaja sera people outside of South Asia. Trans is culturally universal, but khawaja sera and hijra are not. And so only when someone actually joins the community do they become a khawaja sera person. At least this is how the term is used most of the time. They could be asexual, they could be attracted only to women, they could be attracted to men, they could be attracted to other khawaja sera people. That's another issue.
How does a person become homosexual? There is lots that can be said, and there could be many factors for that. For example, it could be आपके family के कुछ circumstances ऐसे हो सकता है कि एक मतलब लड़का पैदा हुआ, उसके बाद उसकी बहन पैदा हुई, बहन को ज़्यादा टेंशन मिल गई पेरेंट्स की तरफ से, वो फीमेल्स को इमिटेट करना शुरू कर दिया उसने.
You completely just made that up. There's zero evidence to back that up. You want to give a citation or any evidence at all that has anything to do with having a younger sister or whatever? Also, imitating women is not the same thing as being gay. Anyway, people don't become homosexual. The idea that you start out heterosexual in all cases and then some people become homosexual has been debunked at this point thoroughly. These are old ideas that Western psychologists sometimes perpetuated, and people will sometimes just speculate explanations. Oh, maybe it's because of having an aloof father and an overbearing mother in the case of a gay man. Maybe it's because of penis envy. These are Freudian explanations. Penis envy in the case of lesbians, and so on. And none of these explanations has any credibility whatsoever. At this point, there is a scientific consensus that some people just are naturally homosexual or bisexual. The majority are heterosexual, but some people are homosexual and bisexual. And in addition to scientific evidence, which is not the same thing, by the way, as saying that it's genetic, to say that something is part of someone's nature authentically and that it's natural to them is not the same as saying it's genetic. We don't know exactly why human nature is the way that it is. The assumption that genetics is the cause of it is a very particular contentious assumption, which I don't share because the scientific evidence I've seen does not support this kind of genetic determinism. But I do not have a shadow of a doubt that there are people that are just naturally gay and naturally trans. And that includes in cases where it may become emergent or evident later in life. This is why gay people are always born, even in societies where you have harsh penalties for homosexuality, which is not acceptable. Iran, for example, has even death penalty, as well as corporal punishment, and yet that doesn't stop gay, lesbian, and bisexual people from being born in Iran. There's also the testimonial evidence of so many LGBT people throughout history, and so many same-sex attracted people, even people who may not identify as gay, lesbian, or bisexual, but those who are attracted to people of the same sex at birth, that this is just their natural attraction, that this is ever since they were 4 or 5, whatever, they recount experiencing these kinds of attractions.
देखें, अल्लाह ताला हर बंदे को ना different तरीके से आजमाता है.
The idea that being gay or trans is an azmaish from God, azmaish means something like test or ordeal, is a common homophobic and transphobic talking point from religious Muslims. There's no way they can show that this is the case and not just an aspect of human nature. Just because you don't like something doesn't automatically make it an azmaish. For example, should we consider being a woman to be an azmaish? Women are historically a subordinate gender. There are disadvantages of being a woman. Now, they don't consider being a woman to be an azmaish because they recognize the fact that being a woman is part of human nature. That is, there are human beings that just naturally are women. That's just how God made it. It doesn't matter how difficult it may be to be a woman, which it is in patriarchal societies. And there are specific things that women go through, even in non-patriarchal societies, that men as a group don't go through, like menstruation, for example. And pregnancy is not an easy thing to go through. But they don't think that just existing as a woman inherently is an azmaish. Well, the same thing could apply to gay and trans people. Most gay and trans people say that they have no problem with being gay or trans. In fact, many people say that they actually prefer it, although it wasn't a choice to begin with, but if they had a choice, that is in fact what they would have chosen. Members of the LGBT community generally don't consider this to be something that is inherently negative or a harmful or distressing experience, but it's true that there is minority stress associated with it, that because of oppression, because of discrimination and so on, it is more difficult to be gay or to be trans. In societies in which you have less of that oppression, you also see that outcomes are better for gay and trans people. So is there any reason to think that this is an azmaish other than the fact that you don't like it?
एक बंदा है, let's suppose वो kleptomaniac है, वो he wants to steal all the time. अब उसको भी हम नहीं कहते कि you act on your desire because you're a kleptomaniac. Guess what? You have to steal now. One thing that I find very strange in all of this, throughout history, throughout cultures, throughout civilizations, human beings are human beings because जिस तरह भी अहमद भाई ने कहा, they control themselves, restrain themselves. अभी जो है ना, everything else control, don't steal, don't cheat, don't do this, don't do corruption. लेकिन इस केस में आप कहते हैं come out of the closet.
Coming out of the closet has nothing to do with self-control. It's not a failure of self-restraint. It just means that you reveal the fact that you are gay or trans to other people. The analogy with kleptomania is false because kleptomania is the kind of thing that if you act on it, it results in an injustice to somebody else. If somebody is a kleptomaniac and they steal something from somebody else, then that is a violation of that other person's property rights. But homosexuality and transness are not of that nature. If somebody acts on it by being in a relationship with someone of the same sex or by transitioning, which are two separate things, but I'm considering both gay and trans right now, then that does not violate anybody else's rights.
Here's a question. Who decided that you're not going into the closet by saying that you're homosexual?
What's the closet then in that case?
यही लैंग्वेज आप क्यों नहीं यूज करते फॉर अ रेपिस्ट के वो अंदर उसके डिजायर है आप कहते हो you should come out of the closet now.
Because being a rapist is not a sexual orientation. It violates other people's rights. Also, coming out of the closet is not the same thing as being gay. It's simply telling other people the fact that you're gay. So the analog to that in the rapist case would be somebody revealing the fact that they are rapist. And yeah, people should reveal the fact that they are rapists so we can know who they are, so we can do things like put them in prison or whatever.
They say that you are harming others in that case.
एक होता है harm principle के बारे में आपका बहुत narrow view है कि आप कह रहे हो कि I am looking at the immediate harm.
Exactly.
Then you're an idiot.
Yeah, the individual harm.
देखिए अगर आपका ये view ना कि इस वक्त क्या harm हो रहा है, then you're an idiot and you have no idea how society works. Because जरूरी नहीं है कि harm principle यार look at it from a 10-year perspective, 20-year perspective.
manifestations बाद में आ सकते हैं बहुत ज़्यादा.
Nobody says that the only harm that's relevant is short term. That's a complete straw man of the idea that one shouldn't harm other people, which, by the way, is not only the harm principle. The harm principle is specifically something John Stuart Mill proposed. Not everybody who believes in rights or who has the common sense to see that there is obviously a disanalogy between being a rapist and being a gay person who's not a rapist agrees with John Stuart Mill or uses the term the harm principle or thinks like that. The issue is not just harm, it's also a matter of whether something violates rights. But also, if you're claiming that there is long-term harm or that there is collective rather than individual harm, then give evidence to present it. What's the collective harm of gay people revealing the fact that they're gay? What's the long-term harm?
तो इनकी प्रैक्टिसेस भी हार्म करती है सोसाइटी को. मंकी पॉक्स एक छोटी सी मिसाल है. HIV एक छोटी सी मिसाल है. यानी बहुत मिसालें हैं.
Really? Monkeypox, HIV. This is the most tutty homophobia ever. The only thing that could be stupider than this is if you say homosexuality is the unnatural. Monkeypox is not caused by homosexuality. Neither is HIV caused by homosexuality. Gay men do have higher rates of these illnesses because gay men are more promiscuous. But also the issue of coming out of the closet has nothing to do with this. It's not like people got monkeypox or HIV because they came out of the closet. I think this guy just doesn't know what the difference is between coming out of the closet versus being sexually active. Even as far as sexual activity goes, not all sexual activity between people of the same sex involves, say, monkeypox or HIV. In fact, monkeypox isn't even a sexually transmitted disease. It's transmitted by skin-to-skin contact, which is why people who make contact within medical contexts, for example, nurses who make contact with patients, are at higher risk. HIV also is not specifically sexually transmitted. It's something that can be transmitted through, say, the sharing of needles. Lesbians have lower incidence of these illnesses, as far as I know, even than heterosexuals. So does this mean that heterosexuality is harmful inherently because heterosexuals have higher rates of HIV than lesbians? I mean, what an idiotic way of thinking. Certain socioeconomic classes have higher rates of these diseases than others. Certain ethnicities and races and nationalities have higher incidence of these diseases as well. Does that mean that existing as a member of that race or ethnicity or nationality is inherently something harmful? The gay rights movement doesn't say that people should be gay. What they're saying is that those people who already are should have rights. So even if you think that there's some harmful or negative thing associated with homosexuality, and it's certainly not monkeypox or HIV, but there are certain disadvantages associated with homosexuality. Like if you want to start a family, there are certain difficulties. It's not that you can't start a family. There are gay men and lesbians who have kids. It just means that people of the same sex are not going to be able to be both the biological parents of the same individual. But people don't have a choice about what their sexual orientation is. So there's no point saying that there is that disadvantage. It's not like people are going shopping for their sexual orientations and they're like, straight, gay. Well, you know what? It's easier for me to start a family. I'll be straight. Like, that's not how this works.
वो ये कह रहा है कि I feel like a woman. ठीक है? Now, I want to help him.
You can't help him, you paindu. You don't know shit. You don't even know the difference between gender and sexuality.
Let's make you into a woman. ऐसा करते हैं, तुम्हारे हम जो है ना वो genitalia को remove कर देते हैं, हम तुम्हारी gender reassignment surgery करवा देते हैं, और तुम्हें हम लोग estrogen पे लगा देते हैं, हम तुम्हारे अंदर testosterone levels को down करते हैं, and then you will be a woman, and then your conflict will be resolved.
Well, first of all, nobody is forcing these things on trans people. ये कोई डॉक्टर नहीं करवा रहा है किसी का, ये खुद कर रहे हैं. This old narrative that you become a woman or you become a man by having surgeries or whatever, this is like from the 1970s or something. It's not relevant in this day and age. It's not even called gender reassignment surgery or sex reassignment surgery. It's called gender affirming healthcare, and it's something that cis people also do. The point of it is to make a person feel more comfortable with their body. It doesn't actually change your gender. So if a trans woman has bottom surgery, that doesn't make her into a woman. It just makes it so that the dysphoria that she experienced around her genitalia isn't there anymore, or she gains euphoria that she did not have before, or maybe she just has the intuition that that's something that she wants. Maybe it's just her destiny and that's something that she feels at an intuitive level. Whatever it is, that's not what actually defines your gender.
बात ये क्या आपने उसका डीएनए भी चेंज कर दिया, यानी मेल एंड फीमेल के जो डिफरेंसेस हैं उसका पेल्विक बोन से लेके बोन डेंसिटी से लेके मसल मास से लेके पिच ऑफ वॉइस से लेके.
It's true, it's not going to change your DNA, but no one's stupid enough to think that. Do you think that we did not know that your DNA does not change from surgery? Are you actually giving some new information that some trans person is going to watch and be like, what? It doesn't change my DNA? I thought if I had bottom surgery, it's going to change my XY chromosomes and XX chromosomes. You're also a dumbass if you don't know that muscle mass and pitch of voice are things that actually do change as a result of hormones. Certainly when you take testosterone, those things change in the case of trans men. In the case of trans women, the estrogen is not going to change their voice, but it is going to change their muscle mass. Most sex characteristics are actually changeable by hormones. Your sex is not some one fixed thing that is your DNA or something. I've already said this in my response to Kesar Raja, but I'll repeat it briefly. It is a cluster of traits. Your sex includes your primary sex characteristics, your secondary sex characteristics, and your DNA. And of these, the secondary sex characteristics, most of them, and even some primary sex characteristics, do change as a result of hormones and surgery. Cis people also get some of these same gender-affirming health cares. For example, cis men who have gynecomastia, where the man has excess breast tissue, will often have male breast reduction surgery or gynecomastia surgery to remove the excess breast tissue. These are cis men we're talking about.
Can we not have a decent discussion to ask कि क्या इससे फायदा हो रहा है?
What you're having is not a decent discussion. Scientists have already been working on this. There are literally studies that have been done on इससे फायदा हो रहा है या नहीं हो रहा है, and all of them show कि हो रहा है.
नहीं आ रहा यार, but why are you doing this? बल्कि इसका opposite नजर आ रहा है.
नहीं आ रहा यार. ओ क्या refutation देती, नहीं आया यार. You should send that for publication. Write nahi aaya yaar in a paper and send it to like a scientific journal. Publish kar lenge, I'm sure. That's very rigorous scientific opinion you have there.
Why on earth are you doing it? Because आपका एक political agenda है कि आपने LGBTQ, RSTUV, WXYZ plus Pro Max को आपने promote करना है.
It's not about promoting. Also, the whole LGBT WX is not clever or funny. The reason they're doing this is because they want to defend the rights of LGBT people. Not to promote being LGBT, but to promote the rights and to make it so that you have equality. The same reason you have feminism, for example, or civil rights, anti-racist movement, decolonial movements. Any social justice movement is aiming for the same thing, which is justice.